He's ready to go on the Fan, New York Sports Radio. Mike's on, Mike's on. He'll get you the sports any way that he can. It's Mike Francesa on the Fan. Sports Radio 66 and 101.9 FM, WFAN.
From the studios of WFAN, this is Mike's on Francesa on the Fan on this Tuesday, the 10th day of October. A day off, at least for the folks here, as far as the baseball goes. We got one game to play. Two teams already have advanced. The Cubs and Nationals will play again this afternoon, and then later this afternoon. And then, of course, tomorrow night, a game of 5 after the Yankees win last night. And, you know, we talked about it at length yesterday. The Indians were showing some signs that their enormous streak that had carried them, their enormous surge, the winning streak and the brilliant play they showed was a little bit of thing of the past. They were not playing crisply. They were not on their game, and obviously they got a big break in game 2, which they took advantage of. We know what happened there. Last night, the Yankees got a break on the Hicks check swing that should have been a strikeout. They didn't take an advantage of it. They didn't follow through on it. They didn't pitch their way out of it, and then they found themselves in big trouble. And I wasn't surprised to see the Yankees win last night. What surprised me is how poorly the Indians played. This team has been the best defensive team in baseball this year. They've given up the fewest unearned runs, and what we watched them do was we watched them just fall apart. I mean, absolutely fall apart defensively. The errors they made, whether it was a third baseman in for defense making a couple errors, whether it was a bouncer back to the mound, whether it was not being able to throw a guy out at the plate from 250 feet away, all the different things. Even Bauer giving in after having that call go against him. He got to a point where he tired so readily and was hanging the curveball that he even threw a fastball in the zone, which is a complete no for him, to Judge, and Judge ripped it one hop off the wall and left. So when he did challenge him inside with that fastball, the bottom line is the Indians have gotten completely off course here for a team that has been brilliant this year. The two other teams that had shown dominance this year, the Astros early, the Dodgers for their run, both have advanced. The other team this year that showed that kind of dominance was the Indians, and now they find themselves in a death struggle against a young team that right now is playing fast and loose and is a very dangerous opponent. Make no mistake, and no one knows that better than Francona right now. Make no mistake, the Yankees are a very dangerous opponent, and more than anything else, his team is not playing well. You got guys in that lineup not swinging the bats. Now their defense fell apart last night. They unraveled in that game last night. They were about to get themselves back in the game with the long ball, and they unraveled in that game last night. Severino was good last night. He did a good job. He wasn't brilliant. He was good. Gave up a couple of home runs. That could have been a different game if not the fact that they were able to tack on runs. But you know what? He did his job. He did a good job. So that was a big step for him. He threw the ball well. Listen, he's got great stuff. He relaxed. He threw the ball well. Like I said, he wasn't overpowering. He wasn't great last night, but he's good. He did a good job. The Yankees got some big at-bats last night. They got some big hits, and they were aided, obviously, by a bushel of mistakes from a team that has not made mistakes. And that's how we go back to Cleveland. A Yankee team ahead of schedule, clearly playing with house money, enjoying this immensely. You can see it from Bird to Judge to Sanchez. You can just see it, enjoying this immensely. And an Indian team, which now is faced with the kind of pressure you get when you haven't been able to close out an opponent. And the Indians, we know their record in closeout games. And a team that had played so brilliantly that now has hit a rough patch and knows it and is completely, in my mind, reliant on their starting pitcher tomorrow. Momentum in baseball is always the same thing. It is always the next day starting pitcher. It has never changed. It never will change. And they need their ace. They need the Cy Young winner to be what he was consistently all year and what he was not in his first start. And that is to go out there and give them 7 great innings. If they don't get that, to me, the advantage completely, not even remotely, completely swings to the Yankees. in any other kind of game. They're playing better right now. They're getting better at bats. Guys in that lineup, they miss Encarnacion enormously. I don't know if he'd be a player or not. I would try to do anything I could to prop him up and get him into that game tomorrow if I were the Indians. They are not swinging the bats well. Brantley, who has come back from the injury, looks awful. Ramirez, the Yankees have done a brilliant job pitching to him, and he has now become lost at the plate. He is chasing. He is missing good pitches. He is chasing bad pitches. He has been a wrecking crew, and now that he has been completely neutralized in this series. You have other guys also not hitting in that lineup. Now their defense falls apart. I'd make a couple of subtle changes in that lineup tomorrow if I'm Francona. But one thing, to me, they have the best postseason manager and the best manager in the sport. He reads his team, and he's good at this, reading his team well. He doesn't ever panic. He's been through this. He's won titles. He's been in every possible situation you can be in. He knows how to read his team, I think, better than any other manager. I think he will be ready for that. But to me, the way they're playing right now, the way their play has really just fallen apart in this series. And they're lucky they're even playing right now. We know what happened in Game 2. With that being the case, they have to be secure in one thought, and that is that they're going home. And they're going home with their stud pitcher on full rest. The thing in the back of their mind is they have seen him beat up by this opponent. They have seen him figured out. He does not bring an air of dominance. This is not worrying about Mike Scott. This is not worrying about Oral Hershiser. This is not knowing there's a guy there that you can't figure out. This isn't that. He's already been figured out. The question is, can he rebound? And we've seen pitchers many times. No one more classic than Andy in '96 after a terrible first start, throwing the game of his life in a 1-0 win in Game 5 over John Smoltz in the World Series. We've seen it time and again. Guys have rebounded from a bad start with a big start. And that's what they need their ace to do. For the Yankees, they're going to go to an old hand who can handle that. But again, for the Yankees, it will be all hands on deck. They got a chance to rest their bullpen. We saw Betances rear his head last night again as the bad Betances. But other than that, they will have arrested Green. They will have arrested Robertson. They will have arrested Chapman. They can, with those three as the foundation, they can piece the other parts around it and can go to the pen realistically as early as the third or fourth inning comfortably in this game if they have to. They have Gray if they need him. I think they're reluctant to do that, but they can cover the game realistically anytime after the third inning. I think Cleveland's less apt to do that, but they can cover the game too. But if they have to cover the game tomorrow, they're in a very bad way. The Yankees want to be in a position where that game's a scramble after 4 innings. The Indians don't want that game in any way to be a scramble after 4 innings. They are looking for one kind of game, and that is they are looking for Kluber to hand it off to Miller and Allen and get the heck out of there and go play in the ALCS. That's what we have as we get ready to go to a pivotal deciding Game 5. The Yankees, in a series that has obviously had its twists and turns, have established themselves. Their future is incredibly bright. No matter what happens to them here, they have had a terrific series. They have extended a very good opponent now to a Game 5. They have plenty to build on. They will be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, next year to win it all. They will be heavily regarded with a couple of little tweaks here and there for next season. But first, they have a game to play, and they can be a very dangerous opponent this year, and they are in this game. They clearly are, as we've talked about the last couple of days, a very dangerous opponent. I think the Indians know that also. I think the Indians are surprised, I'm sure, by how poorly they have hit and how poorly they have played. And now we will see whether or not they are a championship team. If you're the championship team, you win these games. That's all. No big deal. No big deal being pushed to the wall. But if you're a championship team, if you're going to be a championship team, you're going to win. You're going to respond. And we will see that from the Indians tomorrow, or we will not. That's all. It's as simple as that. For the Yankees, this has already been a terrific postseason, no matter what happens. winning that Minnesota game could have been house money. I understand after Game 2, it would have hurt a little bit to lose in 3 straight, considering the way Game 2 was a game that fell apart. You don't usually lose 5-run leads in playoff games. We understand that. And you saw the graphic put up last night that no team had ever lost 2 in the same series. It was a good one to see. And, logically, that's not going to happen to anybody again. But the Yankees are in as good a position as they could have possibly been after what happened in game number 2. And we don't know what the future holds. We don't know what the future holds for their manager. But right now, it's only about Kluber and Sabathia and playing a Game 5 tomorrow in Cleveland. And that's what we'll talk about when we come back.